Okay, Cindy, so your class is now live. I'm gonna stay a few more minutes, and then once you start the class, I will just hop out. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Hi, Yvonne. Going to give it a few more minutes to see who else is going to be able to join us, and then we'll start the class.
Oh, okay.
I think there were about 7 or 8 people that actually signed up, but some people might have got tied up doing some other things.
Yeah, it's easy to happen.
Right. Hey, Joanne.
Hi.
Glad you're able to make it.
Thank you for offering this to me.
Well, sure. I was just sitting here waiting for class to start, and I hadn't even launched the Zoom part of it yet. So I thought I had already done that. So either of you guys live up towards the East Coast anywhere? No?
No. What's going on?
I was just wondering if anybody was being affected by the pipeline that got shut down by ransomware.
Oh,
A lot of people are having trouble getting gas up that way and having some gas shortages.
horrible. That's horrible.
It is. We're going to talk a little bit about ransomware and what it can do. But it was a kind of a coincidence that we're actually living through a big one that's affecting part of the United States right now. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. If anybody else joins, they can just jump on in and pick up where we are. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you have any questions during this class, feel free to ask them whenever the questions come to your mind. I feel like that's the best way or the best time to learn is when you have a question on your mind and we're actually talking about it on the screen. So don't worry about muting yourself unless you have something going on in the background that might cause a little disturbance. But just ask questions, please, at any point in time that you should have them. I'm going to teach the class using a PowerPoint. We're going to look at a lot of examples of things that are going on out there. And then also we will jump out on the internet and take a look at some of the sites that the FTC has with more information about how to avoid these type of scams and email phishing, things like that. Do either of you know what a phishing email is?
Sort of,
Sort of. Something that you don't want to get, that's for sure, huh?
I get them all the time.
Do you?
They're imitations of AT&T or PayPal or things like that. Is that what you're talking about?
It is. It absolutely is. Right. Right. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and launch my PowerPoint. I'm going to start out by talking just a little bit about Get Set Up, and then we'll get into the body of the program here today. So let me share my screen here, and I'm going to scroll back up to the very top of the PowerPoint slide and launch it full screen for you guys so you can see it. And hopefully y'all can see my screen here, email scams and how to recognize them. Yeah. All righty, good deal. If at any point in time I lose the screen that I'm talking about, just let me know. Sometimes I inadvertently click on the stop share button and I'm just talking away and nobody knows what I'm talking about because they can't see it. So a little bit about Get Set Up. I know y'all probably have done a lot of classes before. This is just a little bit about me, your guide. I have a degree in education and a master's in education. I've taught in public schools. I went into healthcare, taught in, I'm an x-ray tech, taught in radiology programs in some universities. I recently retired from a 13-year stint as a director of one of the imaging departments here in Houston. And I miss my staff a lot, but I don't miss the rest of it. I enjoy being retired. So Get Set Up is, as you know, a place where you can learn useful skills from people that are just like you. We're all approximately the same age and same place in life, and to help us become more productive and learn how to do new and wonderful things in life. And it's great that you guys have your cameras on. I appreciate that. If you don't want to have it on, that's okay. It's fun to see the reactions as we learn things and have fun through these classes, though. If you're by chance joining by live stream, best way to join us is to really go to the website and book your classes there. You can keep up with them and do all kinds of other cool things on the website. Look for certain classes. You can follow certain guides. If you like a certain guide, the way they teach, you can actually do a search now for the guide and see what classes they have upcoming. Also, in Get Set Up, when we teach these classes, we talk about a lot of different products and things, and we don't get any kind of kickback or anything for promoting these. We just use these different products as we teach our classes. So if you should be interested in hosting an interest group, if you have something that you're passionate about and would like to have a class or just host a group to talk about, maybe you're a quilter, maybe you do volunteer work, whatever, let us know. We're always looking for people to host interest groups with our Get Set Up community out there. I'll say that you can request a recording of this session if you would like. All you have to do is send an email to help@getsetup.io. Just tell them the name of the class that you want to get and tell them the date you took it on. And they will send you a link to a video of the class. Okay, also following each class, we always send out class notes, which has a little bit of notes about what other classes may be interesting to you based on the topics that you've been taking, but we'll always have some that suggest some things to you. We'll always send some key takeaways from the class, some high points, so to speak. We'll send that in the email, and we'll also send, it'll have a link to it where you can leave feedback for us. You can rate us a 1 to a 5 star based on whatever you want to rate us, even though it defaults to a 4 star, but you can rate us a 1 to a 4. You can rate the session itself, the topic, you can rate the guide. And then down here's a little box where you can actually put in some extra comments if you want to host an interest group, if you have an idea of another type class you'd like to see or something like that. So that will be in the class notes follow-up. Another cool thing that we have on our site now is when you actually book a class, you can actually invite a friend. Once you book, you'll be able to add it to your calendar, whatever kind of calendar you use. Then you can also click on this link right here, and it will open up your email client where you can actually send an email to a friend and tell them, hey, I signed up for this class. You might like it too. This is another something that you might see. If you want to just copy the link, you can click on copy link and then just paste that into your email that you're sending your friend. If you're booking on a mobile device, you'll see something like this, and you can invite a friend by clicking right down there. So just help spread the word about Get Set Up, and let your friends know about it. We work with different groups, everything from some like the state of Michigan, YMCAs. So if you're part of a group, let them know about Get Set Up and the classes that we teach. Any questions or anything about Get Set Up? Okay, here's our agenda for today. And we're going to talk about the definition of phishing, what a phishing email is, and damages that can happen if you interact with these emails. We're going to make sure that you know the signs of a phishing email so that if you get one, there's a lot of ways which you can identify them and all the red flags that goes along with them. We're going to learn to identify those. We're also going to talk a little bit about ransomware and what happens to your files when ransomware infects your network, similar to what's going on with the pipeline right now up the East Coast. And then we're going to look at some phishing text messages, as well as some other ways we're going to talk about how to stay safe online in general. And also, if anybody has any comments or experiences with phishing, or maybe you have a friend that has maybe been caught up in a phishing email or something, please feel free to share that information with the class, because there are so many scams out there right now through the internet that it helps if we can all just talk about experiences we've had or things that we've heard about, so it can help us all stay safe. So that's our agenda. And I did a prior knowledge check by asking if everybody knew what a phishing email is. And pretty much everybody has an idea, I think. But a phishing email, to be specific, it's an email that's sent to you in an attempt to get you to click on a link or open an attachment and lead you to give away your private information. So that's what these criminals are doing. They're trying to fool you into thinking that you need to click something or open up an attachment, and then they try to separate you from your personal information, social security number, credit card numbers, things like that. This is one of the most common methods that criminals use to try and steal people's information, is by phishing, because it's so easy for them to do. And the links that are attached, or rather the websites that are attached to these links that they want you to click on, are so easily changed. It's very hard to catch these criminals with what they're doing. Okay, so here's what happens if you do engage with a phishing email unwittingly. Your login information can be compromised. The criminals can steal your username and your password. Once they have your email and your password, they can just use software to go on all kinds of different sites to see if that will work and log them in, banking sites, things like that, in hopes of being able to compromise your information. They can actually affect the data on your computer if you click on a link or open an attachment. And when they, by compromising your data, they can actually install files on your computer that can harm your computer. It opens a backdoor for hackers to get into your network. That's pretty much what they do. And they can also plant ransomware on your computer just by having access into your network. Now, if you're ever out on the internet just surfing around or doing something, and all of a sudden your mouse starts moving and you're not moving your mouse, somebody has control over your computer. Somebody has gotten into your network. These are programs where people can actually get into your computer and control it. They're actually used quite a lot legitimately in businesses for IT people when, let's say, a big corporation, maybe IBM, somebody's having a problem with their computer and they call someone in the IBM IT department. That IT department may be located on the third floor of a building across the street, but somebody can actually remote log in to the computer and try and solve what the problem is. So these programs are out there, but you shouldn't really ever give anybody permission to get into your computer. So make sure that if you, I had someone the other class I had last week, I believe it was, said that her mouse just started moving. And I said, if that ever happens, just shut your computer down because somebody's remoted into your computer. Okay, let's take a look at a typical phishing email. This was a real email that a friend of mine got, and she almost fell for it all, but she finally, it dawned on her. Here are some of the red flags. You're going to see words like last chance or anything else that refers to a time limit that you have to act upon whatever the criminals are trying to get you to do. They're going to try to pressure you into doing or thinking you need to react to this email and click on a link or something. There may be misspellings in the subject line. There may be weird, strange looking reference numbers, and there's always going to be a reference to your account being locked or suspicious activity or something like that. So knowing these red flags here, let's look at this email over here. This says, this is the last chance to log in and regain access to your Amazon.com, I assume, account. And then it has some crazy notice number. Here's the Amazon logo. It looks legitimate. And it says, dear customer, for your protection, your Amazon ID is automatically locked. And on down below here, it had a link to click on for the person that received the email to go in. And it asked her to update her payment information so that they could unlock her account. So knowing these red flags, let's look at this. First of all, if an email comes to you unsolicited, it's something that you didn't ask for and you don't know who sent it, just ignore it because it probably is a phishing email or maybe even just spam. Spam is something that just tries to make you buy something. Spam is what marketers use. There's not necessarily anything evil about spam. They just try to sell you something. But a phishing email is evil in that it tries to get you to click on a link or attachment. So if you look at this email here, here's your high pressure sales tactic. Kind of says, this is your last chance. So you think, oh goodness, I've got an Amazon account. If it's locked, I just ordered something for my grandson's birthday. I need to click on the link and find out what's wrong so that I can make sure my grandson get his birthday present. Don't do it. It's just a phishing email. This is kind of a weird reference number right here. And here's your reference to your account being locked or suspicious activity or something like that. So these have all of the red flags that you would think of for a phishing email. Okay. Now then, what should you do if you get something like this? First of all, ignore it. But if you think possibly maybe it is something that you need to act on, what you should do is call Amazon customer support and ask them, tell them my name is whatever, and I want to check to see if my account is locked. I got an email that said my account is locked. So that's the best thing to do, is to call Amazon, or if it comes from Netflix, call Netflix. If it comes from overstock.com, call Overstock, call the company. But the criminals are so smart, they're always one step ahead of us. And here's what they're doing now. A lot of people, when they want to call Amazon customer service, they'll just Google the phone number. That's the easy thing to do nowadays. You just Google customer support for Amazon or customer support for Netflix or whatever. What the criminals are doing now, they're always one step ahead of us. And so they're paying for ads on Google to show customer support numbers for all these large companies. So if by chance you go in and just Google Amazon customer support number and you click on the first one you see, odds are you're just calling a bank of criminals sitting there waiting for someone to call and try to take their information on their banking account or whatever. So always go to the website that email supposedly came from, if by chance you think it could be real. And these criminals are really good. They send some really, really convincing emails. So here's another red flag. Look at the Amazon.com up here in the top of the email. See the N on the end of Amazon? That's a problem with a font. That font is different than these other fonts here. So that tells me that probably the criminal copied and pasted something into an email address and then noticed that it was misspelled and went in and put the N on there, but unbeknowingly used a font that was different than these other fonts that everything was in. And so it came out looking kind of weird here. That's another red flag there. Any questions so far on this typical email here? Amazon doesn't. Amazon never emails you anyway.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you're in Houston.
Yes.
I had one that was brand new from HEB.
Did you?
It said HEB Insider, and I clicked on it, and it took me through all these screens, and that I'd been qualified to be an insider to help review foods and designs and all that. And so it said to go to another one and enter your name, fill out the application. But I decided to call HEB. I talked to, I think, 3 different people. Finally, the lady said, I don't think that's ours. You know, they couldn't do anything. So I knew not to fill out an application, but I came fairly close to it. So I just wanted to show you about that since you're from Houston.
I hadn't heard of anything coming from HEB. I'll be darned. And, you know, HEB is just, I mean, that's local to Texas. And so, yeah, I had not heard that one before. But that is, yeah, criminals are just, they're just always trying to outsmart us. And unfortunately, they're good at it. If they would use
really clever. It's really clever.
It is. If they would use all that knowledge and smartness to do good in the world, it would make a lot of difference instead of trying to just steal things from people or get other people's information. Well, I'm glad you didn't fall for that. I'm so glad you called them. That's the perfect thing to do. Always call the company themselves and ask for clarification. And another thing you can do is you can report it to HEB. I'm glad that you did, because now they know that somebody's trying to use their business as part of a scam. That was very good.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All righty, here's another phishing email. Let's take a look at this one. This one was supposedly from Norton Antivirus Company. And again, this was sent to another friend of mine. And it supposedly is an invoice for the yearly subscription for the Norton Antivirus program. And just looking at it with the knowledge that you already know, what are some of the red flags you see that tell you this is obviously a phishing email? Anything look weird? First of all, if it's truly from Norton, it would be from Norton.com. And who's it from up here? It's from someone named Sophia with some crazy Gmail address. So that's your first clue right there. If you have an email program that does not show you the actual email address and just says Sophia, you can always hover over Sophia and it will actually show the real email address that that sender has, and you can tell where it's from. So since we see this is from a Gmail account, we know this obviously was not from Norton. Another thing that you see, look in the subject line here, crazy invoice number. Here's your high pressure sales. It's a very important email. They've got a lot of exclamation points on here. And look at all through here, all of the hashtags everywhere. Notice all of these hashtags all over the page.
Yeah.
That's a sure sign, probably from someone copying and pasting something again, and whatever character that they had they were pasting into their email program, it transferred into a hashtag, or maybe each space was a hashtag or something like that. So that's another clue that this can't possibly be right. Here's a crazy, again, the crazy reference number, and tells you what the invoice is for. And also this subscription will be activated during the duration of a few minutes to the next 24 hours. So that means basically you have a day to dispute this if you think it's not correct or whatever. So that, again, that's your high pressure sales tactic, trying to get you to act on this in a hurry. And it tells you what the amount's for, tax, total amount, and it says, please reach us immediately to cancel the subscription or for any help. And then they nicely give you a support number here to call. If you call that number, you're just going to be talking to a bank of criminals somewhere that's going to trick you into giving away your credit card information. So that's another example right there. These guys are smart, very smart. And most of these come from out of the country, believe it or not. You ever got an email that said you were a winner of the Nigerian King's Lottery or something like that, and all you have to do is send $1,000 and we will send for shipping or whatever, and we'll send the rest of the money to you if you do that? That's a big scam. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about phishing that's taken to the next level, and this is called spear phishing. Now, spear phishing it's phishing, but it's a more targeted version of phishing. They make it sound very familiar and use a lot of familiar terms or names or people and hope that you act without really thinking about it, because the main information in there is referring to somebody that you know, or your church, or your grandson's name, or something like that. So that's called spear phishing, which is very, very targeted email phishing. Now, you can go out on the internet and find out just about anything you want to know about somebody else. If you ever want to see what's basically out there, put your name in Google and search your name in Google, and you'll see what comes up. You'll be able to see your address, maybe middle name, all kinds of information. You can actually, some companies actually make money by having people pay a small fee like $9.95, and you can actually do a criminal background check on somebody. They suggest, I know a lot of times I've heard people saying that if they're on a dating site, that it might be a good idea to check out the person they think they're going to be dating online, do a background search or whatever. So you can actually find out a lot of information about people on the internet. You can find out the name of their neighbors. Try sometime just putting your name in Google and see what comes up. You'll be amazed. So with spear phishing, the criminals bank on familiarity to get you to fall for their acts. It happens to anybody. Everybody know Barbara Corcoran? She's on Shark Tank, right? One of the philanthropists there. She lost $388,000 from a phishing attack. And here's basically what happened. She works with a lot of real estate, and in Germany, there is a company called GmbH, which is a German company that does renovations. And one of her assistants actually got an invoice from this company, supposedly. And she sent it to Barbara and asked if it should be paid. And Barbara, thought nothing of it and said, yes, we've got a project going on with them right now. It's fine. We need to go ahead and get it paid. So the assistant sent it to the accountant. The accountant wired the money to pay the invoice and emailed that information back to the email that it originally came from. And he carbon copied Barbara and the assistant. And when he did that, the assistant saw that he had paid it, but when she looked at the email address that it came from, it was one letter off from the real email from this German company. And so somebody was spoofing this German company and tricked Barbara and her company into paying $388,000. So that's spear phishing. It's very familiar, comes from a company that you know or that you do business with. And, when you're going through that and have a bunch of businesses, you're going through a lot of invoices and, it's just, yeah, sure. It's kind of like when you have to sign things at work, they just put a bunch of papers in front of you and you sign them, sometimes without looking at all of the details. So it can happen to anyone. So don't feel bad if someone gets caught up in a phishing email. Any questions so far? Okay. Talk just a little bit about ransomware. This is what happened to the pipeline company. Was it Coast, I can't remember, pipeline company that evidently originates here in Houston, goes all the way up the East Coast of New Jersey. And what happened is some criminals hacked into the system that operates the pipeline in some respect and planted ransomware or planted malware, bad software in the system, and it actually shut down the system where the pipeline couldn't operate. Now, what ransomware is software that is launched on the computer system, and it takes over little by little. It encrypts all of the important files on a computer so that computer system just can't operate anymore. It like locks everything up on the computer system. And then the criminals demand a ransom in order to get those files back and get everything back up and working. Now, individuals are not necessarily hit with ransomware as much as big corporations because the criminals want the big bucks. If we get hit with ransomware, they may ask for $500 payment or something like that. And although $500 is a lot of money to us, if they were to ask $500 of a big company, that would be nothing. They would say, okay, no problem. I'll pay $500, just get my system back up and going. Well, the problem with the big corporations is they don't just ask for $500. They may ask for $5 million. And that's, unreal amount of money. But even at that, with some of these big companies or with big oil companies, 500 million is probably not that much, as opposed to the amount of money that they would be losing with their systems totally shut down. So a lot of times these companies will go ahead and pay that $5 million. And that's what the criminals are banking on. They want them to pay it. So what you should do if you should ever have ransomware on your computer, what you do is you just shut down your computer immediately. Just turn it off, unplug it, take the battery out of it, because this software takes over the files in a computer. It takes time, little by little, depending upon how much information is on the computer. It could take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. So once you see something's going on crazy with your computer, you just shut it down and then try and reboot it later. And if you can reboot it, then everything's fine. It means that the ransomware did not get your major files and do any harm to your computer. If you can't reboot your computer, you can take it to like Best Buy, Geek Squad, or something like that. And they have programs that they can run on your computer that will clear off the ransomware or that malware, and you can still use your computer. Doesn't mean you have to go buy a whole new computer or something like that. Now, let me back up just a minute and say, if you're surfing on your computer and just minding your own business, and all of a sudden something like this pops up on your computer, this is ransomware. Everything stops. You can't do anything. Your keyboard won't work. And this is just a typical ransomware. It's not what they all look like, but it's something like that. They will have these items in this information here. It'll tell you what happened to your computer. It'll basically tell you that your files have been encrypted. It will tell you that, yes, you can recover these files, but you're going to have to pay me some money before you are able to do that. That's why it's called ransomware. They basically hold your files for hostage. So they tell you if you pay this fee that they're requesting, they will send you the key to decrypt these encrypted files on your computer. But the problem is, even if you do pay it, you have no guarantee that they're going to restore the data on your computer. After all, they are a criminal. But in this particular case, they'll tell you, yes, here's how you can recover your files. You have to pay a ransom. They would tell you what the ransom was. Right here in this case, it's $300 worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital type of currency, and usually they will ask you to pay in some type of digital currency. But they'll also tell you exactly how to pay. They'll tell you how much time that you have to pay it, or else you'll never be able to recover your files at all. So this one right here says payment's going to actually be raised if you don't pay it by this time. And then if you don't pay it by this time down here, you're never going to get your files back. So the longer you sit there and look at this and worry about what's going to happen and what you should do, the more that ransomware is infecting your computer. So if you ever see something like this when you're minding your own business, just turn your computer off, unplug it, take the battery out, whatever, just totally shut it down. Any questions about ransomware while we're talking about ransomware? Oh, you're muted, Yvonne. You're muted.
I have a friend that happened to, she paid her $300 and she did get her she got back on her computer okay. But, and they talked to me about it once. I did what you said. I just turned off the computer immediately.
Good, good. But that's, that's what they're hoping is that, and a lot of people don't know what ransomware is, and they're hoping that people will just do what they say. In earlier days, several years ago, Microsoft used, and you still may see this occasionally, but it's also a scam. Any kind of a pop-up that tells you this is Microsoft, there's a problem with your computer or something like that, don't respond to that. Don't even interact with that. If there's a window update that needs to be done, it's done differently nowadays. But don't let anybody fool you with all of this craziness that they do. They're so very good at what they do. Anything else before we move on? Okay, we go back to sharing up here where you can see the screen again. This is an example, kind of moving to a different topic. This is a text scam. Anybody get text scams, text messages that are scams? I get them all the time. Our phone numbers are out there as part of just public knowledge. You can get phone numbers anywhere. This is one that pretended to say they had a package for me from March that was holding for me and kindly assume ownership and schedule for delivery here. They wanted me to tap on this link and was probably going to ask me to verify my address and payment information that I used for the package or whatever. But this is a typical text scam. So when you get these, don't ever interact with them. Just delete them. Or if you want, you can always go up here on your phone and tap on the little arrow here and find out. It'll actually expand and tell you the phone number that it came from. And you can always block that phone number so that they can't try to get in touch with you again. But just delete it and just ignore it. Well, that's a text scam. And there's a lot of these going around. Here's a text scam that I actually got from a friend of mine on Facebook. If you ever get a text or an email message that says something like this from YouTube in it, and it says, this is you in this video, and it's a YouTube link, don't click on it. This is a scam, will always be a scam. And this is pretty clever because if you get an email from someone saying, here's a video and you're in it, well, you're going to want to see the video and see what it is if somebody that you know tells you that you're in it. So, but this is a big scam that goes on. So just ignore this one if this ever happens. When I got this one, I actually called my friend and I said, your Facebook account has been hacked because here's what I got from you. So Facebook accounts are always getting hacked, it seems. And it's wise to change your password periodically if you do use Facebook. But this is a typical scam. You may get it in a text. This one came in Facebook Messenger. You may get it in an email, but this has been out there for a while. And don't ever click on anything that says you're in this video on YouTube. It could even just be a link that just basically opens up ransomware on your computer. Okay. Here's one that a friend of mine got just within the last 2 weeks. This was an email, actually a text message, but it looks very much like emails. If any of you bank with Chase, it looks just like their email format. And it says, please confirm activity on your Chase, I'm assuming on your Chase account. You know, a lot of times we can set up alerts on all of our credit card accounts and things like that, to where if a payment is over a certain amount being made, it sends you a text alert for you to approve it before they let the amount of the charge go through. So this was kind of actually spoofing one of those emails, but it said, sign in to read your new secure message. Here's what it's about. Please verify your external account and log into Chase right here. They tried to get you to click on this link right here to log into Chase. And if you did have a Chase account and tried to log in, well, they were seeing exactly what your login information was. They were able to see what the password was you were using, your username and everything. So this looks pretty legit. It looks just like other things that come from Chase. However, if you look right here on this sentence, it says, we encourage you to sign in to read your Chase because it contains specific information about your account. Well, this is not really a proper sentence. I mean, it should say, we encourage you to sign in to read your Chase alerts maybe, or your Chase emails or something. That's not really how we talk. So that's another red flag in this one. But there's all kinds of ways you can you can click right here, you can click right here, but all they would be doing is getting your bank login information if you saw something like this. Now, here's what I told my friend to do. Right up here where it said who it was from, supposedly, there's a little arrow on all your phones, and you can tap on that arrow. And when you do, it will open up a screen that looks like this. And it says it's from jpm.chase, but what it does is it shows the email address that it came from. So, and this is not chase.com. So obviously you can tell right there, this didn't come from Chase. Okay, so this pulled up a contact information for everything that this person sent it from, and it happened to have with it the attached email address. And so she was able to see that that was not Chase, and obviously it wasn't Chase. And actually she didn't even have a Chase account. So they were just sending emails out to everybody in hopes that there were some people that did have a Chase account and that they would engage with what they wanted them to do. Questions on any text message scams like that? Anybody seen anything like that? If you haven't, you will. Okay, next I want to talk just briefly about some of the phone messages that we get on our phones. And this is actually, I'm going to play this for you. This is, let me stop the share and include, when I go back to sharing it, I'm going to include the option for listening to sound so that you can hear the sound on it. But this is just a typical text message that I got, and I thought I would share it with everybody, so I'll play it here. Hopefully it will play.
My name is Officer Stephen White, calling you from the Department of Social Security Administration. The reason you have received this phone call from our department is to inform you about a legal enforcement action which has been filed on your name and social number for criminal activities. So before we proceed with any legal proceedings, and if you want more information about it, please press 1. Thank you.
So that obviously was one of those messages like we've probably heard a ton of before, but this one targeting someone from saying they're from Social Security. Social Security won't ever call you. Has anybody gotten any calls like this?
My name is Natalie.
Hey, Natalie.
And hi. And I've got calls like that before. And I know one thing about Social Security, they like to mail you letters.
Absolutely, they do. They sure do.
Yes. So I don't answer when they start that talking and stuff. Then I hang up.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As well you should, Natalie. That's exactly what you should do when something like that happens. You can actually report these phone calls to the FTC, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute when I share some good information from the FTC. I
Okay.
have several links that I'll send to you guys and the follow-up email, and you can report this kind of stuff. A lot of people say, well, why bother to report it? Because they're never going to catch the people doing this. Well, sometimes they actually do catch the people that are doing this. And by you reporting it, you never know. You may be giving them the one little bit of data that they needed in order to be able to break this particular case. But the FTC is on top of things all the time, trying to catch people that are doing all of these scams, whether it's a phishing email, a phone call, whatever.
My name is Officer Steve.
Sorry.
My name is Officer.
Didn't mean to start that again. Here's just a little bit I want to share with everybody. Let me check my time here. Okay, we've got about 16 minutes left. To stay safe online, if you're out using a public wireless system, let's say you travel a lot and maybe you use the hotel wireless system, they may give you a password to use it. These public wireless networks are not secure. Even though the hotel may give you a password to use it, it just is a password that means it's okay for you to use their public network because you're actually staying at that hotel. So, for example, a lot of times McDonald's has free public Wi-Fi. Starbucks has free public Wi-Fi. If you take your computer, your phone, iPad, whatever, and Starbucks, and you're surfing the web and you're on their public network, there's nothing wrong with doing that. However, don't put in anything that's got really sensitive information in it. Don't check your bank balance. Don't check your credit card balance. Don't do any shopping where you have to put your credit card information in a box on a web page somewhere, because these networks just are not secure. It's not like your home network where you know that it's secure. So be careful what you do when you're using public wireless networks. Always make sure you use strong passwords for all of your sites. You should change your passwords regularly. And I know that's difficult to do. And it's a pain to have to keep up with all of those passwords, because our lives nowadays all revolve around passwords. But there are good password keepers or password programs or apps that are available for you to use to help you keep up with all of your different passwords. And Get Set Up actually even teaches a class on some of those different password apps to help you keep up with your passwords. It's a good idea to change your passwords periodically, and you should never use the same password for different email, accounts. If you have one password for your bank account, you should not use that same password for anything else, because there are ways that criminals can get a hold of passwords, and then they'll just start using programs that run them through bank accounts, card accounts, things like that, in hopes that it may let them in. So we've already talked about fake emails or texts from delivery services. One of the ladies in one of my classes said she actually got a text from FedEx saying that they tried to deliver something to her door, but was unable to, and they're going to bring it back again, but it's going to cost $1 for them to have to come back. So she clicked on the link and she thought, okay, it's $1, no big deal. And she went ahead and gave them the information. And because she actually did have a FedEx package she was expecting. And naturally it was a scam, but she called her bank. She saw the $1 charge on her bank. So she called her bank, and she also saw 2 charges for $4.95 that she didn't make either. And the bank told her that that was a scam that she was caught up in, and to not ever, FedEx and those type companies will never require payment for redelivering any kind of a package. So she had to work with her bank to change her account and everything, because that information had been compromised. Especially around Christmas holidays, you'll start getting a lot of text scams like that. Continuously check your bank and credit card accounts for any unauthorized activity. Take advantage of the alerts that you can set up on your credit cards or your banking card, so that maybe you get daily account balances on your credit cards, or that you get alerts when a balance goes below a certain amount or something like that. Those are very handy to use. Lastly, a lot of us do shopping online, which nothing wrong with that. Just want to make sure that the website you're shopping with has the little lock picture in the web address. That always tells you that that's a secure website. Another way to tell a secure website, web addresses start with HTTP. And if it's a secure website, it will have HTTPS on the end of it. And that means that that website is secure. But always look for the lock in the web address to tell you that you're dealing with a secure site. When you do,
What you call it when the
It's-
first thing said is
it's a little picture of a lock in the web address.
a lock.
A lock, like a lock and a key. It's a
Oh,
little
okay.
picture of a lock, right?
Oh,
So if
okay.
you are shopping and you're shopping on a secure account, a lot of times when you check out, they'll ask you, would you like to save this payment information for the next time you shop with us? Don't ever save it like that. There's no reason for a company to have record of your payment information. If you shop there again, you can always re-enter your account number again when you do check out and buy something from that company. Okay.
Yes, well, I did have one of my banks. They sent me a phishing one saying that my bank account had been closed.
Really?
And so I checked on another device, and of course it wasn't true, and I just deleted. Yeah.
Good, right. And of course, you can always call your bank if you think there's something going on that shouldn't be going on. Most banks nowadays, I know I do bank with Chase, and they're very good about it. If there's some kind of activity that's not in the norm for something I would buy, or maybe if it's out of the country or something like that, they actually will send me a text immediately asking me if I made that purchase. And if I didn't, I will reply to the text, no, I didn't make that purchase. And I will call them also. They've been very good about putting money back into my account, even though the account in the past, that the account had been compromised. So it's always wise to do that. Just delete it, don't interact with it, and even call your credit card company or your financial institution if you are concerned. Okay, so with the little bit of time that we have left, I just want to do a quick wrap up here. This is just the key points and what we talked about today. Remember that phishing emails are always going to have an unfamiliar tone or greeting. In fact, it may say, "Dear Madam," if it's say, you might get an email from Amazon supposedly, and it may say, "Dear Madam." Well, Amazon's going to know your name, even if they did contact you. So that's a big red flag there. Look for grammar and spelling errors like we talked about. There will always be a sense of urgency, trying to give you a timeline or a deadline that you have to act before this deadline hits. There will be suspicious attachments. Don't ever click on the attachments or any of the links inside the emails, because that's exactly what the criminals want you to do. If you get an email from someone that you did not initiate the conversation, don't interact with that email, just delete it. If the email claims that there's a problem with your account or your account's been locked, that's another red flag for a phishing email. Just remember, don't click on suspicious links or attachments. And sometimes even pictures. They can actually even put malware in a picture. When you open up a picture, you may get an email that say, "I was at a so-and-so fair and I had a picture of your grandson and I thought you might like this." And if you click on it and open it, it could be a picture of who knows or what, but that could open up an opportunity for malware to be installed on your computer. Okay, I want to show you a few of these links that I'm going to send you from the FTC and just give you a little bit of information on that. Let me go back to share screen here. This is a link from, all of these are from the FTC. And this is a link that basically reviews everything that we talked about in class today. It talks about how to recognize and how to avoid phishing scams. There's a lot of other links in here you can click on to find out more information. There's actually an example of a phishing email here. This one looks like it's from Netflix. We all have Netflix accounts nowadays, it seems, because we sit and watch movies because we can't go anywhere because of the pandemic. And this one says, "Please update your payment details." It says, "Hi, dear." Well, Netflix again is going to know your name. It says, "We're having trouble with your billing, but you might want to update your account. Please click here." And if you did, you would actually just be talking to a criminal on the other end of a line. So this first link I'm going to send you, this is just a good review of everything that we talked about in class today. This is a link to a little phishing email quiz. So at your own leisure, you can take this. You can go down here. It'll ask you a question. You can click on the answers, and it will tell you if it's right or wrong and what the right answer really should be. So this is a little quiz that you can take from the FTC to see how much you learned in the class. If the topic is hot topic in the news, you can bet there's going to be some scams out there about it. And so naturally, coronavirus, there's a ton of scams out there about coronavirus. And this is a link I'll send to you just to tell you about some of the scams that are out there right now about coronavirus. They may be scams about helping you get the vaccine, scams about getting money into your bank, things like that. So this is a handy link to have. This is a very good link because this is how you can actually report fraud. If you think that there's been some kind of fraud, or you've gotten a phishing email, or like that call from this supposedly Social Security, all you have to do is click on this report now, and it takes you to a page where it just walks you through the steps right up here. It asks you exactly what's the topic. You can pick a topic. You can say it was an impersonator. You can say who were they pretending to be. You can say a government agency, click continue, and it'll take you to a page where it asks you a little bit more specific information. You just go through and fill in the information. And down here on the bottom, it even gives you a place where you can send more detailed email. You can just type away and tell them whatever you want about this scam that you're reporting. So this is a very handy site and a very easy site to use to report. And remember, we never know if we're the ones that help push them over the edge for being able to shut down a criminal ring doing some of this stuff. And lastly, one little thing I want to share with you. This is a site, this isn't the FTC, but this was a site that was created by a gentleman to see if your email has been compromised. In other words, if your email has been involved in any breaches anywhere out on the internet. Now, have I been pawned? Let me give you this word is not really a word, but it's kind of turned into a word because, on the internet, there's a lot of people that play games on the internet a lot, and they have their headphones on and they're typing to one another and they're playing games and they're carrying on conversations while they're also playing the game. But when they beat one another on there, what they say is, I beat you. Instead of saying I beat you, they say, I own you. O-W-N, I own you. So when they're typing in a hurry, the O and the P are right next to one another on the computer. So when they're typing in, you've been owned, they accidentally will hit the P. And so it's kind of created the word pawned in the gaming world. So this is just the name that the guy used to create this site. And you can actually put your email information right in here and click right here on pawned, and it'll tell you if your email has ever been compromised. Now, a lot of people have more than one email address that they use. I have one that I use for business, and I have one that's just a throw-off email that I know I'm going to get junk mail from or whatever. So I'm going to put in that email address that I have that's my secondary email. And let's see if it's been pawned, if it's been compromised in any way. So I put in my email, I'm going to click pawned right here. And it will come up with a page telling me if it's been compromised. And it says, oh no, I've been pawned. So this email address has been compromised. And I don't really understand the rest of the page here, but it tells you the different breaches that it actually was compromised in. Collection number 1 is a breach that the FTC found, something from Exactis. Exactis is actually a marketing company. So evidently there was a breach with their client information and my email address was in there. So this is just a little bit about where it actually had been involved. So the important thing is once you put it in, you know that it has been compromised. So what you want to do, you don't have to quit using that email address, but there's several things you can do. One of them is first you want to go change your password to your email address. So if you, after this class, you go to this site and you put in your email and it says you've been pawned, go change your password to your email address. Also, if you have any kind of antivirus programs on your computer, run a scan to make sure there's no viruses or malware on your computer. And like I said, you don't have to just do away and get a whole new email address. Any questions on that? Any questions on anything that we've talked about today? know we talked about a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time, but just always remember that the criminals are one step ahead of us. And just when we think we have them figured out, whoops, we don't have them figured out. Anybody have any last comments or anything that you'd like to share with us?
Thanks a lot. It was great help, great information. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and I hope you all learned a good little bit and can better stay safe with your email now online. And please tell others about Get Set Up and all the different classes that we have. And I hope to see you on some of my other classes sometime. Thank you,
Cindy.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.